Your ears do not deceive you. You have just entered the Cryptid Creator Corner brought to you by your friends at Comic Book Yeti. So without further ado, let's get on to the interview.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Comic Book Yeti YouTube channel. I am your host today, Lauren Smith, and I'm here with two phenomenal indie comic book creators that are joining us today. They have this phenomenal Kickstarter that we have to talk about, because if you're missing it, you got to join in. Please welcome Mr. Evie and Jessica. How are you guys?
Hey,
Hi.
Thank you. Good. Thanks so much. How's it going?
Good. Well, I'm always good. I've got a whole wall of Nightcrawler behind me, so
Nice.
I'm a big, huge nerd myself, and I'm a big fan of the Kickstarter platform and Becky Indie Comics. And you guys right now have this really, really cool comic up there, graphic novel called Shockheaded Peter. And before I looked at this, I had no idea that this was a very old timer story.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to talk about it, but I kind of wanted to just start with, since this is your first debut graphic novel, which is freaking awesome. You guys want to tell us a bit about yourselves, who you are, what you guys do, and what led you to making this?
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, we're both writers and filmmakers, and we're storytellers, and we come from a background, and if you really want to get to the very beginnings, we started in theater actually as performers.
Yeah.
So we cover all the bases, but at the end of the day, I think it kind of for us, at least when we talk about it, we feel makes us better storytellers, just to have that experience.
We've run the gamut of performative occupations, if you will. We've done acting. I've done editing. Jessica's done writing and dabbles in some music here and there, and lyric writing.
Well, lyric writing. I was like, I don't play anything. Don't ask me to play anything.
And then I think at one point we actually met as actors. That's how we started our relationship.
Long ago.
Yeah.
Long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Los Angeles.
Close enough, honestly.
Yeah, seriously. I think at one point we just kind of wanted to create our own opportunities as actors, but then we enjoyed the process so much we basically took ourselves to film school and started investing in our own opportunities to try to make stuff and writing and producing things, and then it just kind of led from one project to the next.
And we realized we enjoyed it far more than being in front of the camera, and we were like,
right.
so it's been over a decade that we've both been I think it's made us better storytellers, but
and we've been lucky enough to survive on that, and it had been tough, and now we're doing what we want to do, and then the opportunity or ideas kind of started sprouting for a comic book or a graphic novel of one of our ideas, which admittedly we had thought, oh, okay, maybe this might be a cool TV or film idea. That was the world we were in. And then we had little birdies chirping in our ears. What about a comic book? What about a comic book? I think it literally took us 2 years to even fathom how to start to create a comic or a graphic novel or that whole process.
We were, I think, kind of unfamiliar with it and intimidated
Scared.
by how would we do that, and it was just a lot of respect for it too, and being okay, and at the end of the day realizing though that this story fits this medium so well, because it's such it's a fantasy horror, so you can really go all out with building that world on the page.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like that you guys talk about how you had that experience in front of the camera, but you realized you being more behind the scenes and all that, but you got that appreciation and it helped you understand the craft better. It sounds like it's kind of people say, you can't understand, or you can't be a good customer until you work retail. Then you'll understand things like that.
Right.
No, totally.
Yeah.
I think our time as actors really helped us with a vital skill, which is communication.
Mm-hmm.
as an actor, you're supposed to emote and kind of convey the emotions and convey things to an audience and to others, and you're listening a lot. And I think taking that skill and imparting it onto a director directing other actors, or your editor, or your director of photography, or your artist in a comic, it's really kind of like come back and helped us tenfold.
Like full circle. We were like, oh, okay, like this has been really valuable.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. And learning, it's interesting because with the arts, you can transfer a lot of these talents so well. Like, you can do film to TV and even TV to write a book or whatever. But comics are such a unique form that I feel like it takes a little bit more to learn in its own right. And I really, again, like that with Shockheaded Peter, you guys mentioned on your Kickstarter that, Shockheaded Peter conjures up a crossbeat of Labyrinth, which is a very dramatic theatrical cult classic film, and A Nightmare on Elm Street with some Tim Burton vibes sprinkled on top. So for those who don't know, what is Shockheaded Peter even about, and how are you able to throw in, your film experience and your theater experience and all that into this retelling?
So I guess we should go back to like the source material you were talking about, right? So like it was this 1845 really dark, macabre children's book. Right. Written in Germany. So it was like a cautionary little, almost like a modern day anthology, 10 short little stories telling kids, don't suck your thumb or the tailor's going to come and chop them off. And then there's a picture of a kid with no thumbs crying. It's children's stories. So we saw this, actually discovered it. There's a band called the Tiger Lilies. I don't know if you're familiar with them.
I'm not.
And they did what's called a junk opera version of the source material. And that's when I was first exposed to it. And then they basically did just an exact retelling of those 10 stories, but with music. And then when we went back and looked at the source material, we saw an opportunity to kind of really reimagine an entire mythology around one of the characters named Shockheaded Peter, who is, I guess, the cautionary tale of, be sure to clean yourself and wash up and be like a good little boy or girl. Otherwise, you'll turn into this ratty, horrible creature kid with nails growing 10 feet long. And your hair is all, and no one will want to talk to you, and you'll be an outcast. So we kind of took that character and reimagine what would it be like if that character who suffered all this ridicule and teasing and horrible, being just an outcast in society, and what would it look like if they grew up, and what would it look like if they wanted to take revenge upon all the horrible people who never suffered any consequences? And that's kind of how this iteration of Shockheaded Peter came to be.
Yeah, that was like the seed of it. And then we imagined like an entire whole new set of, characters and world. And we do pay homage to some of those punishments that are in this original source material, but obviously twist it to our own universe, kind of go a bit further. But yeah, so that's pretty much like where the first, I guess, the spark of it came.
Yeah, and we put it in, we call it modern day world, but it's a whole, different kind of weird world. There's no cell phones. I wouldn't call it steampunky, but there are some weird kind of mechanical type iterations in the world. There are electric cars, so there is some semblance of electricity, but it's still kind of like old timey.
Yeah, it has a vintage feel to it.
Yeah, and I really like that because you can see that even in the preview pages on the Kickstarter, and you can see it through just the design template of the pages, and then how you lay the panels out on different pages and all that. And I like that you mentioned the punishments, because one of the most fascinating images you put on the Kickstarter is where you mentioned that Peter has a code. So was this a code that you guys wrote? Is it something you took from the original thing? And how does it kind of define him as a character without giving too much away?
Yeah, thanks. No, we did come up with that. We were like, okay, what is his code? And that was something we talked about a lot, because we wanted it to be very like strategic. Like this guy, it's not like he's just out for revenge for anyone, it's a very planned thing. The code is like, if you're past 12 years old, your days
of innocence are cold.
Yeah.
Trespass without guilt or remorse, you might be good or bad at the source. Repeat these offenses in due time, your punishment will fit your crime.
Yeah. So that's
and that is dark as heck. And that is something that really fascinated me when I was going through this Kickstarter. I was like, maybe this will be like a goofy story, but this is an all out like horror, really investing in this darker world, and it's great.
Well, there isn't. See, that's why we say Labyrinth mixed with Nightmare on Elm Street, because there is like a semblance of wicked fun,
but also like the fantastic, and like there are also some beautiful images that we wanted to like just juxtapose those things, and that's why we talk about like the Tim Burton vibes on top, because we also wanted some of the fun to come with it. We didn't want it to be like this really heavy, gory. No. We wanted it to be fun as well. So that's like the tongue-in-cheek aspect of it.
Yeah. And yes. So the code thing was also because we'd also kind of imagined, we had always talked amongst ourselves when we were putting this together. We called it like a fucked up fairy tale. That was always our guiding light, our shining North Star as far as mood when we were kind of writing the story. It really does, even though it's called Shockheaded Peter, we really do start the story or kind of see through the eyes of this teenage girl named Ruby, who's a girl with an actual broken heart. Like her heart has like I don't know if it's a murmur or a weird sort of like defect, and she has to wear a monitor that tells her when she's kind of pushing too hard.
Yeah, she has to like calm herself to not have some sort of attack that could lead her to death. So the stakes are kind of high with her.
So in that sense, with Ruby being our heroine, Shockheaded Peter is kind of a deranged fairy godmother to her in some sort of way.
Yeah.
And to us, part of the creepiness of it is like, I mean, it's like Shockheaded Peter is like Willy Wonka meets Freddy Krueger mashed together, right?
You know what? Based on what I've seen on the pages, that I already completely agree with that.
Right.
And I like it. It's such a fun combination, because there's a lot of our stories I've read, like a fairly recent comic was Vinyl, where it takes the perspective of a serial killer and how he can only kill when he listens to certain music on an old MP3 player, and how just chaotic that is. So I think this is really great read for it's going to be a great read for a lot of people that are into stuff like that, where you have that juxtaposition of the really like grotesque stuff, but also this is still fun. What's happening?
It's dark and weird and slightly comforting in a way. Like, imagine if like Freddy Krueger showed up at your house and he's not there to hurt you. He's going to live with you and you be your best friend, but he still does all the things that Freddy Krueger does to other people.
Right.
So it's kind of like a weird, like,
without giving too much away,
but that's the vibe.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, that's not literally what I'm just saying, like, just like the idea.
Yeah. So we want to play with all these like different colors and just kind of experiment with where he'll lead us. It's going to be a fun journey. I mean, for sure.
We have this whole mythology behind the character, behind where he came from, and we have so much more story to tell. And this was just like this part one is just the beginning for it.
And a lot happens, but it's we're really excited until like people get it in their hands.
I can tell, because like I can tell the excitement, and it's even more exciting when creators aren't afraid to say, by the way, if you guys like it, we have more to tell. And I love that you mentioned Ruby, because there's some preview pages, I believe, with her on the Kickstarter. And I wanted to ask, how did you design these kids, the teenagers? How did you design them both? Or how did you want them designed? Because I know you guys wrote it visually, but also personality wise. How do you want the different kids and teenagers and such to be?
Yeah, that's a really good question.
Shout out to Joe.
Yes. Oh, obviously, design wise, our artist Giuseppe Di Stefano is like amazing.
Yeah.
Like we lucked out so much finding him.
We lucked out so hard.
Yeah. When we started this process, it was like, okay, well, we need to partner with someone who's really going to like see this world. So yeah, we had an idea of like each bully. I mean, they're teenagers, you know, but we also wanted to make sure that it didn't come off like very kiddie, but at the same time keeping a style of fun. So we talked to him, and like, you know, we went through like character profiles and just like different iterations of it, and like aging up or not, because like one of our bullies, Fred, he's like this, I think he's in some of the preview pages too. He's like this, like very like, just like oafish, like very mean bully. And like, you know, so some of them obviously have these, I guess, characteristics that you might be like, oh, okay, that's, you know, these stock characters, but at the same time, we take them and give them like a different feel as well.
I mean, it's tough because how do you play with the horror and the fun without leaning to just complete dark gore or just to complete, you know, underage fun and making. So that was like a really delicate balance. And that's why when we were looking for artists, and keep in mind, like we didn't know where to go. We had two people guiding us along this journey, thankfully, who were, you know, amazing influences to kind of help us, you know, where to look. And it was really tough to look at an artist's art and be like, oh no, they can do this, or oh no, they get the feel. And like, just miraculously, we came across Giuseppe's artwork when he posted in a Facebook group, which he like never posts in. And we just like saw one and we're like, there's the feel. It's like fun, but also deranged and kind of like adult. Like, then we reached out to him, and the rest is history.
Yeah. And then like his color and the light in it, like just, it's gorgeous. Like, so that's really something that also attracted us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was going to say the last preview page that you show, like full page that you show in the Kickstarter campaign, is one of my favorites, because it's that page I'm looking at now where it's got the like the circle here, and then he comes up behind this character, and then log one here. It almost looks like a face the way the panels are done. So he's absolutely phenomenal. Like, I couldn't be more ecstatic myself as a reader seeing how that turned out.
Oh, that was so fun. Like, and that's, you know, like the script process and all was obviously very different for us with a graphic novel comic, but talking to him about panels, like, even though we were very specific, we were like, you bring your flavor, and like just how he did all like that specific page, and then another page with like how he plays with the gutters and all that. Like every time we would get pages like that, we were just so excited.
And I'm pretty sure this is his first full book.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, are you kidding me? Like he looks like he's been doing this for like decades. Like, I'm not even kidding. It's
we tell him like that we tell him that we've been hearing like amazing things on his art, and he lives in Rome. And we've been telling him all the great things that people have been saying, and he's like, I don't think he believes it yet. I think he's just like, oh, okay. We'll talk about it later.
He's a little shy. He's fantastic, but he's a little shy. Sometimes we're like, oh, we could do like interviews with him, but I think he's like, no, like. But
he wants to be the mysterious artist.
No, he's great. It's been such a joy like working with him, and we're just excited to like, you know, put this one out and then get to do more.
And we're slightly afraid that someone else is going to snatch him up.
Just lock him down now. I mean, look, you know, if you got to make a stretch goal coming up, that's for the last few days. It's just, we're locking him in. Give us more money, so we lock him in. You know, I think that's more than worth the investment. Like, you'll get more money out of me that way. So
that's a good idea.
I know.
His stuff is awesome. And how did, because, you know, obviously we're talking about, you know, you guys and working with him and collaborating on art. How did you guys work together on finding the right color palette? Because you guys talked a lot about that, where you want the fun vibes, but also with the horror stuff. And those can often be two completely different color palettes, but you guys do such a good job of finding a middle ground. Was that all him? Was that combination of you guys?
I think Joe, we call him Joe for short. Sorry if I slip up. So I think Joe came to us for, he did a couple of like pages as we were starting to go, just based on script. And then he was like, I have this like thing, like I'm trying to do it in sections. based on the feel of and the theme of the script.
Yeah.
Certain settings or certain character arcs. He's like, I have this feeling of like highlighting certain color
palettes within the book.
So he actually referenced this one thing. It's this weird website, and I forget where it's called Film Barcode, and I don't know if you've heard of it. It's essentially where they take a frame, like they take all the frames of any movie and they compress it down into one long barcode stream, and you see the color palette.
How it changes.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah,
it is awesome. Holy crap.
And they do it for tons of films, and you see like Matrix or Blade Runner or something.
Cool.
So he was trying to tell us that because he couldn't remember the name. And I'm like, I totally know what you're talking about. And he's like, I have this idea for, I see that. He's like, he sees that in his head, that barcode of how this goes. And we're like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And
So I think, in terms of the color, I think like, honestly speaking with that, like when we saw his work, that's one of the things that really attracted us to it. So lighting. I think it's just like, we've been like fully like, show us. Great, that works great. Sometimes, adjusting certain things, but with the color, I think like he's the master of color. So like, that's really been more just his own talent, bringing that to the table. But that is what attracted us when we saw his work, just like how he colors and just it's gorgeous work, really.
We had been working on this idea for a while, and we put together like a Bible on our own, just like Photoshop type stuff, and creating our own reference Bible for whenever we did get it off the ground. For whatever medium, it still worked, getting images and writing blurbs and stuff. And so we did send that to him, and I'm sure that influenced his color palette as well and his ideas. But that's something only an artist can do.
Yeah. And I mean, it's this gritty world that we still, again, just the fantasy horror, right? So you want some pages that still have like, there's a magical aspect of it as well. So there are some things that we lean more into like warmer colors, and then some things that are colder, so I guess within that, like obviously we work together, but
yeah, absolutely. And I wanted to ask, because I'm not sure if I missed on the Kickstarter page or not. So who did the lettering? Because the lettering on these pages looks like it was done by a major publisher. Like, it looks phenomenal.
Are you kidding? This is all Joe. Yeah. He did
That's him as well.
He did inks, pencils. He did the color, the lettering. I mean, like, yes.
We lucked out.
He is, we are definitely so lucky to have him. Unfortunate, like he's just really overall very, very talented,
and he does so many clever things. Like I'm looking at it now, and one of the first few ones, there's a part where there's "were" and purple letters, and it frames underneath the two panels above it. Like, again, I can't believe this is his first, like you said, because it looks like he's been doing this for decades. I mean, he does better than some of the major publishing books I see. Like, this is absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, he's fantastic. And we had a lot of conversations about what we wanted to do with the lettering, since it is like, he was lettering and it's his first full book, and we would show him certain things and tell him how we wanted to play. And then he took off with that. But yeah, there was definitely a lot of like, okay, like kind of how, I guess different, I guess like Chew was something we would look at. Or
Chew was a reference that we would give him for sometimes.
There was a few others. Yeah, we would just like a lot of conversation. Like, he's in Rome, but we get on video calls sometimes. To like,
that was the thing we insisted on, which is a lot of people I don't like. Today's day and age, like just kind of even Zoom, a face-to-face thing,
right,
is way different than just typing an email.
Yeah,
100%. Yeah. And I think especially when you're trying to make something that is such a creative piece and stuff, you need as much collaboration and as much directness, especially like if you guys have background in theater and film and all that, where it is so much direct collaboration, not being able to do that could be detrimental. Like, that's not right. Yeah. So I'm glad you guys were able to do that, and that he was able to do that, even being all the way in Rome, because I'm always fascinated seeing so many creators, especially ever since the pandemic, more people of greater distance are collaborating, and these results are amazing. Like your book's a huge example of how cool that process is.
Yeah, thank you. And it was really nice to be able to collaborate, I guess, during the pandemic of all things. just have that sort of face-to-face collaboration. We would, I guess, get on a call every 2 or 3 weeks and just kind of check in even, and or like have a drink on Zoom, you know?
Yeah.
Although it was 11 here and like 9 there.
Yeah. So it was the other way around. But you know, it's funny too, just coming back to the idea of the characters and him being in Rome, like, and our theater background, when we were talking about stock characters, we actually used to be part of a theater company that uses a lot of commedia dell'arte characters.
Mask work.
Yeah. Yeah. So when we started speaking with him, because that comes from, you know, like from Italy, he knew immediately what we were talking about, which was so amazing to be like, well, you know, we're thinking about this because the stock character of this, and immediately we'd mention like, you know, Pantalone, this and that, and he'd be like, oh yeah, I know that. I know. So that was like, you know, meant to be.
Because we worked in this theater company for about 10 years. And you would create characters out of stock classical commedia characters. Like you said, Pantalone is like the old crotchety, wealthy character that has this, you know, certain mask. Face and a certain type of nose and a certain type of cheeks, and they have certain character traits. And so if we said, okay, this character is kind of like a Pantalone, he's like, I got it. And we're like, this character is like a Pulcinella. He's like, got it.
Yeah, like the shape of the body, the movement. I mean, obviously, you know, you're talking about panels, it's still images, but you still wanted to communicate some sort of movement, some sort of style, which is so important. So,
and the fact that we hooked up with him of all artists, and this was like part of our base vocabulary when creating characters, was like perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really nice when, you know, you find that match made in heaven. Like I'm sure, you know, there are people that have, you know, been able to, you know, collaborate even when they don't have the same quite understanding at the beginning, but having that upfront, I think personally as a reader, it adds that magical touch. Like even if we're not sure why that magical touch is in the story and it resonates a bit more than others, I think it's visible regardless if people can recognize that or not. So that's really awesome to hear. And yeah, I'm glad you got him, and I hope you get for the next one. Because he really helps bring the phenomenal writing that you guys have with this, even just from these preview pages. He really does a great job bringing that to life. And, you know, obviously he couldn't bring it to life without your great words. So you guys do such a great job with that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, no, the plan is definitely to continue with him as soon as we wrap up the, you know, like, thankfully we reached our goal, and I mean, we're still going. So obviously we want to make sure to get like the best books for everyone and like these great rewards, but also, you know, be able to start the second part. That would be really fantastic.
It's like every dollar that we continue to get is either going into making the current book as premium as possible or going into production on books 2 and 3.
And that's awesome. And that means the most to, you know, backers, and including myself, like, especially with the printing crisis throughout the entire industry and stuff, it is harder and harder to get that. So it means a lot when creators like you guys do the best you can to go that extra mile. And you mentioned rewards. Can you guys talk about just a couple of the cool rewards that come along? Because you guys have, like, I think like almost 4,000 over your initial goal, which is phenomenal. So I know you guys have some awesome stuff that's going into this as well, beyond just the regular story.
I mean, yes, we've hit 4 stretch goals already so far.
Yes, we've hit 4.
So like, we've unlocked like a very limited metal foil cover, which we're only making 35 of.
Wow.
And already a third of that has already been snatched up in like a day.
Oh my gosh.
We got this amazing graphic novel donated to us by Fanbase Press called The Margins, which is a 130-page graphic novel that we're giving to anyone who got a copy of the book, digital or physical. Same thing with another book called
Monster Matador
by Stephen Price. So people are getting over 200 pages of story off the bat. What else?
We unlocked we have our own little shenanigan cards, which are like our
Garbage Pail Kids,
our homage to Garbage Pail Kids, but within our world. So we had 2 originally, and then we unlocked the third one. So we also have 4, well, in total it's 4 covers. So we have our pop culture cover.
Which is a homage to the original A Nightmare on Elm Street film poster.
Yes.
Yeah. And so that one's really cool. And we have the goth cover, which Ethan said, which now we unlock the metal, but like it's
5 covers.
Yeah, with that one. And then we have pins of Shockheaded Peter. We had one that actually we only had 6, so people were able to draw themselves into the book. So those went, which we were like, wow. And so those rewards are gone, but like people still get a personal custom punishment from Peter. Like basically you can,
amazing.
You can have Peter punish you, like, and
we'll work with the artist and they get like a custom print. And then they'll get a digital as well. And it's, in the vein of our world.
And that's a really fun one. And also like, you have Joe making this amazing piece of work for you. So that's like an original. And then, we had another cool thing was a storefront. And we have one of those, like your business in our world, which would obviously continue on in the story too, as long as we're in our town. So we've had a lot of fun ones. And we were happy because that's something we thought about a lot. Like, how can we make these rewards, engaging and fun and like original, and also having limited aspects to it that our backers can be excited about.
Because I think right off the bat, we focused on making the book premium. We were like, it's 58 pages. We're already going to do it like perfect bound. We want this to be able to be on a bookshelf. So we did that right off the bat. And then our next stretch goal, we're going to do spot gloss on it. We're already getting really heavy duty paper cover stock and paper stock. That was never in question.
Yeah, but the spot gloss is the next stretch goal. So that's what we're hoping to unlock next. So everyone can have really for our standard cover.
That's awesome. And these are some, I was noticing that as well. These are not only like really fun and pristine stretch goals, but they're very engaging. And when you mentioned, when you were talking about Jessica, that you want them engaging, but also with limited stuff there. It reminded me, because your theater background, I was like, well, that's basically just improv, right? It's just engaging, but you do the best you can with what you work with and try to make it work. So I'm very excited to see all this. What are you guys most excited for once this campaign finishes and you can get everything going and all that?
I'll say
part two.
Well, first things first, I'm really excited to actually have the physical book. Like I cannot wait to just like see it and like, well, all the covers, but just all of it like that. Yeah. And to be honest with the stretch goals, when we unlock the golden ticket, that was really, really fun. That's going to be fun because it's going to be at random. So we have these tickets.
So in the world, there's a thing called the TikTok cavalcade. So the town in which this is set is based on like a whole, hundreds year history about clockmaking. So they have like their Rose Parade, but for clocks. So the 200th anniversary is coming up. So we created tickets for the 200th TikTok cavalcade, which is basically a bookmark. And then one of our stretch goals is we're creating 50 of those with gold foil that we're going to randomly insert into packages.
That's awesome.
I'm going to get the golden ticket.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see. I hope a lot of us, including me, because I plan on doing this. I will be very excited to do an unboxing video to see if I get a ticket. It'd be really cool if everybody did that. Just like, all right, who got the ticket, guys? We're going to make a compilation of all the videos you guys send in. That's awesome.
Oh,
that would be so awesome. If people did that, I love everyone, but I would love them so much. That would be so cool to see. That would be so fun.
Yeah. And we just finished, prepping the files to go to the printer for the gold tickets. So I'm excited about that.
That's going to be really fun. And that was one of those that it was just like, you're like a kid again. You're like the golden ticket, like it's just so fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And EB, I don't know if you mentioned, I've gotten lost on gold ticket talk. Is there anything in particular you're really excited about once this gets all printed and everything?
I'm looking to part 2. Because like we said, part 1's 58 pages. In my mind, I'm already thinking, hey, part 2 is probably going to be closer to 100. I don't know, maybe 75 pages. So I'm excited, about that and just getting the arc of the story told. Like I would want to like have it now.
Yeah.
Like
You're ready to get going and just keep full steam ahead. You've got so much more to tell, I can tell. So that's really exciting and encouraging to see the enthusiasm.
Yeah, and we still have to finish the scripts for part two.
But we're already excited. Like we talked about, like what our first like the image will be. Like we're like, oh yeah, that could be really cool. So we're already like, I mean, we have everything written out except we now need to make the actual second part comic graphic novel script into that format.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, full props to you guys for learning how to write like 20 different kinds of scripts throughout your careers and your lives, because that is no small feat. Like it's formatting is hard itself. Oh
yeah. Figuring out like the comic script thing was a whole journey of, that's a script in and of itself right there. Trying to figure out how to write this.
100%. Well, thank you guys so much for coming on, EB and Jessica. I am even more excited than ever just talking to you guys to get my copy and everything of this. Where can people go back this, obviously, because it's got a couple days left. We want to make sure everybody gets on. And where can people find you on the internet and all that cool stuff?
So to back the project, we made it easy. Just go to shockheadedpetercomic.com. It'll take you right to the Kickstarter site. And then as for me, you can find me across all social media at EBK from LA.
Perfect.
And for me, you can find me at JE Silvetti on Twitter, and then Instagram, I'm at Jess_Silvetti. So, yep.
Perfect. Well, thank you guys so much again. Thank you for taking the time to share all with me and everybody else watching, and taking some time to give us more view into this really crazy but fun world. I know I'm excited, and I think everybody's gonna have a really great time with this book, and hopefully people don't miss out, because I think that's going to be a shame. But I know we're all gonna be looking for part two, and hopefully when that comes out, people that missed on the first one could get that too. So depending on how you guys do it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. And those of you watching, thanks for tuning in. Obviously do the usual cheesy but very important stuff. Make sure you like, subscribe, share, all that great stuff. And like they said, check out Shockheaded Peter and go back at shockheadedpetercomic.com.
Thank you for joining us today for this episode of the Cryptid Creator Corner. We also have a podcast of the same name that you can download wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for watching.
If you enjoyed this episode of the Cryptid Creator Corner, maybe you would enjoy our sister podcast, Into the Comics Cave. Listen and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.